All right, we have the internet working again, so I can finish up with the exciting results from our Tristar tester. So if you missed the first video, you can watch us test whether or not this Tristar tester can beat the good old-fashioned use your brain and diagnostic skills method. And let's see what you guys think. We still have to do one more case. The last case is this 8 plus, so we're going to work on that now. But just to catch you guys up, this is phone number 1. So phone number 1, 27655. This is the phone that the tester said that Tristar had failed, and maybe Tristar had failed. It's a little bit gray. What we did was we replaced Tristar on this phone, and it was still boot looping. That's not unexpected. So we asked, can it now pass an update? And the answer is, let's show you guys. The answer is, will it boot with its brand new Tristar after the Tristar tester said no? No, it cannot boot and it cannot pass update. So even though the Tristar tester said this phone has a bad Tristar, we changed Tristar, it still can't pass update. Now, does that mean that the Tristar tester was wrong? Who knows? It doesn't really tell us anything. It tells us that this phone most likely has some kind of flash memory corruption, and it fails with error 4013. So it may or may not have actually had a bad Tristar. We don't know. So this kind of is one of sort of just the way it is. We're changing Tristar itself as a diagnostic test. But we're going to call this not recoverable because now we don't really have anything left to go on other than it is just a flash memory corruption. All right, next phone. The next phone was an iPhone 6, just like that one, that was here for data recovery. And when we use the Tristar tester on the second iPhone 6, case 28449, the answer from the Tristar tester was that it had a pass, so it did not detect a Tristar defect. Now, as it was, that phone could not pass an update. So I changed Tristar anyway because Personal Diagnostics, the use your brain method, says, hey, if you've got an undamaged iPhone 6, what's going to be wrong with it? Well, either it can have a flash memory corruption or it could have Tristar damage, because that's how phones get in a state of not working, is through using the non-certified chargers and getting some kind of a surge. So what happened? Even when we replaced the Tristar tester, said it was good, we replaced it anyway and asked the phone to update. And what happened? Here it is right here, and it did pass update. So that's score 1 for use your brain, and 0 for Tristar tester on that one. Now the first one we really can't score. We don't know whether or not Tristar was bad. It may have been actually bad, and then in addition, that phone got memory corruption. So we can't really say whether or not that's the case. So this phone is being actively recovered right now, and I want to kind of keep an eye on it, and I just thought that was so cute. Isn't that great? Yay! So this was from our phone that the use your brain method said go ahead and rule out Tristar anyway and try to pass update, and it did. So this phone is recovering right now, and we're going to let it pull off. It has 100 gigs of pictures and videos on it. So I'm pulling them off with 3 utils. Look at that. It has 60 gigs to go, and that is quite a bit. All right, so we'll move this camera over here a little bit because now it's time to do case number 3. Let's see if the Tristar tester can redeem itself with case number 3. All righty, go to sleep, Jessa. It's 12 a.m. No. So yeah, I think that sometimes doing these streams, since the last stream, which was hours ago, I've been sitting here just like I have all day long, and that first one is no fix. I did 2 5S's that are both not recoverable. So there's a lot of behind the scenes of not recoverable stuff. So it may appear to you guys on YouTube that everything we do always works, but that is not the case. Okay, so here we are with case 8 plus. So let's read the note and see if we can learn something. Now the 8 plus is kind of new, and we are all just starting to see them. We're all just starting. Now the 8 plus, iPhone 8, 8 plus, and iPhone 10 do not use Tristar. They use a new version called Hydra. It's really similar, but not quite the same. So we're just starting to see those failures now. So this is coming in not for data. This is a no power solution. And this guy says, problem, iPhone 8 Plus loop, problem, loop. So not a lot of history we got on that. Okay. In my opinion of you that your JFM, just fucking magic, isn't always the case. Sometimes it does feel like a little bit of there was some song that was about like kind of slightly unusual, kind of okay superpowers. Sometimes it feels like that when you can kind of make prediction, do a lot of crystal ball work where, somebody says something and you can say, all right, so you did that right after you did a touch IC job, right? And you'll be like, how did you know? There's a lot of things that are kind of like that. Okay. All right, so this is the 8P, all right. 100 gigs of pictures, yes. All right. So I think that for the actual, is the Tristar Tester worthwhile or not? So far, let's just say we'll reserve judgment. So what I'd like to do is go to iPad Rehab Forum under It Takes a Village, where anybody can post anything interesting, and to just start kind of listing cases that I think are Tristar, turn out to yes or no be Tristar or not, and see what the deal is. All right, so we're going to take a look at this iPhone 8 Plus. I think I've only fixed one of these one other time. All right, let's look at the microscope camera. We're going to be stuck with this camera a little bit. Get out of here. There you go, bro. Okay. So as we look at the board still in the housing, we're looking for water or anything unusual. Is that unusual? What's up with this? What's going on under there? Is that a broken piece of board or just a bracket? Not sure. No water. Here's a little bit of long screw damage. Ding, ding, ding. So we don't know, or I don't know on the 8 Plus whether or not that long screw damage is problematic or not. Maybe there's nothing under there that is actually torn, so we don't really know about that. All right, so no signs of water. Let's go ahead and take this board out. So I already took the screws out to make it easy. Alrighty. 7 a.m. Just woke up. Well, welcome to your, is it Saturday? Is it the weekend where you are? Because it's still Friday night right here. Friday night in quiet Rochester. I'm actually on a workcation, so I have done this the last couple of years. The family goes to the World Board Gaming Championship, and I went to a day or two of that. I played 3 hours twice, so a total of 6 hours of a board game called Sekigahara. Are any of you guys strategy gamers over in the war game room? All right, let's look on the back side of this in case we see anything. And 2 or 3 days of the WBC is about all that I can stand. So the kids are still there, and I came back for my exciting workcation where I get to stay up all night and stream lots of stuff. All right. And play with toys like the Tristar Tester. Okay, so nothing is going on as far as water or anything that we can see. Now, here's where I want to make a point about diagnostic experience and kind of becoming a diagnostician that uses your brain and your experience, your eyes, and putting together a story. You're really a detective or even a physician where you're really paying attention to a lot of moving things. So you're listening, what is the history? And you're thinking, how did it come to be like this? Phones don't just quit working. They just don't decide they don't feel like working anymore. Something has to happen. So think, how did it come to be like this? And what have you seen that's like this before? Think about whether or not you have a drop versus electrical damage versus water damage. All of those things are going to point to you in a different direction. Think about long screw damage. What does that tell you about who might have been here before? What else could you look for? All right, so what we're going to do is the Tristar test, but I have to stick this back in here. So after it gets, I'm kind of like a Cinderella pumpkin, I guess. After it hits midnight, then I do dumb things like take a board out that I need to still have in the housing so that I can do the Tristar test. Alrighty, let's see. Technically, it's Saturday there, Jessa. It's after midnight. I am doing civil disobedience on that. The day changes when you wake up. It can be 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, but if you haven't been to bed, it's still Friday night. Friday night and just super light outside. All right, I don't see why we need the screen to do Tristar Tester. So if you missed that other stream, let's see how we can show you this. All right, so here it is. So this is designed by Jan Petermann, or since he's from Germany and I don't speak German, I don't know if it's Jan or not, but we'll go with Jan since this is America. All right, so he made this thing and he sent it to me, and we are going to reserve judgment on it, but my general opinion is in the other video, which is I have a lot of skepticism over whether any of these Tristar Tester concepts are going to be really worth it. What I do like about this one is it gives you an electronic pass or fail, so that could be something that could be useful if you get a failure. I think if you get a failure, even though the one that said fail ended up not coming back to life after we changed Tristar, that doesn't mean it wasn't failed. So if you get a failure, that's probably pretty strong to show a customer. All right, let's see what happens. I plugged it in and it says device connected. Let's see, how can I make this more clear? There we go. So now I'm gonna hit test. So hold the test button down and it says dock test. Let's go ahead and look under the microscope so that you guys can kind of read this a little bit. So it says dock test, and I think it passed. Now it's doing testing, Tristar testing. So what it's doing is it is trying to assess some Tristar function and pass. It says it passed. Check battery or MLB, Major League Baseball. All right, if it's not Tristar, it's Major League Baseball. Okay, so this says that Tristar doesn't have anything wrong with it. So now let's compare that to what would we think ourselves without that. So do we think that this has Tristar damage or not? So whenever you've got a phone where you see nothing wrong with it, then you're gonna kind of suspect Tristar, because how did it come to be like that? Electrical damage. But this one is not, doesn't have anything wrong with it. It's got long screw damage, and I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see this or not. As you look at this, you can kind of, your brain tells you when you're looking at it in person that it's not 100% straight. Your eyeballs, when you look at this, you think bend. Right here. Right at that SIM tray. It has an unevenness. It looks like somebody kind of went like that. So it has a slight bend. And it's pretty obvious when you look at it here When Christy came by, I said, look at this, does it have a bend? She's like, yes. All right, so this has a bend. That does change things, because if you have bend and a problem that's caused by bend, that's not consistent with electrical damage with a charging cable. So which is it? Is the bend the problem, or is it electrical damage? So because we see that bend, that demotes Tristar down our list so that it is unlikely to be kind of the most likely case. Okay, so let's do the next step, which would be to see how does it behave on DC power. So we're going to check this 8P out on DC power supply. So we'll go ahead and attach the screen so that it'll tell us if it's trying to make image or not, and if it can make a backlight or not. All right, so now we're going to grab the iPhone 8 squid. So we just got in some squids with the iPhone 8, 10, and 8P connector. Alrighty, pass the beer nuts. Alright, so we're gonna plug that in, and now we're gonna watch here on the DC power supply. And that's probably pretty tough for you guys to see. Maybe that's a little bit better. Right now it says 0, 0, so I have it on 4.2 volts, and we're gonna see what happens. I plugged it in. Now can you see this? 0.19. That is not normal. So I'm going to unplug. It goes back to zero current and 4.2 volts. I'm going to plug this in. Now in a phone that's not prompted to boot, it should sit at 0 current. Let's see, does it? It does not. So there is a leak. So there is a leak, a significant leak. So we have 200 milliamps, that says 0.19, 200 milliamps of current moving through a device that should be at 0. All right, so why is that? Actually, let's see what happens if let's just prompt it to boot anyway. So let's prompt to boot, prompt. And we can see that it spikes up to, to 2 amps, 1.95 amps. And it's just kind of really steady. All right, so this phone has some kind of a short somewhere. All right, so let's kind of go on a hunt. All right, let's take, it seems pretty hot. So already, I would really not think this is really a great candidate to fix to begin with, because phones that have bend don't do well long term. Bend is not a good problem. It's hard to warranty bend for a long time. And if you can't warranty it, then nobody wants to get, nobody wants to just see whether or not you can fix something unless it's data recovery. They want a robust working phone. Look at this logic board. It is, look at that. That, even you guys can probably notice that that has bend. It's just a little bit kind of smiley faced. All right, so yeah, kind of, see how it's like not flat. All right, so where is this short? So I don't know the 8 Plus off the top of my head like I do on the other devices. So we can just kind of use experience and being a diagnostician. Let's see if we can find out where is a good spot to see where the main power rail is in the 8 Plus. So I'm over at ZXW, and I will bring you guys over if there's anything here. Let's see. 8P, probably Qualcomm, don't know. All right, let's see. Where is the main power rail? Let's try to guess. Let's guess. All right, so I'm just clicking around to try to find the where the nuts and bolts are here on this dude. And let's pick some guys that are probably main. There we go, main. Let's see, is the XW gonna work over here? Yay! All right, so here's the iPhone 8 Plus. And it has, let's look for where's gonna be our easy to measure spot to measure VCC main. Let's go with this square looking test point that's down here on the very bottom of the board on the top side by the connectors. Let's give that a shot. Why not? All right, let's do that. Long screw, that's one thin motherboard. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look under the microscope. And that camera is just gonna have to chill out. All right, so this square guy right there on the end is apparently VCC main. Now we don't know what normal is, so we're gonna put a red probe on ground and see. Right, so this is 0.330. Now 0.330 seems pretty normal compared to what we know, which is other devices. Now the iPhone 8 Plus might be unusual, I don't know, but we're going to say that that seems like normal, so our problem is not likely to be a VCC main short. So then we can think, all right, what happens when we prompt to boot? We see a really large current spike that kind of is steady. So maybe our short circuit is on something that is a power rail generated by the power management chip. And of those, which one is a common failure point in other devices? What do we know just as diagnosticians? And it makes me think of, and especially the note. The note said loop. So that tells me, that makes me think of, is the NAND getting power? And it makes me think about other devices that have a common failure point. Across iPhone 10, we've seen it, iPhone 6, we've seen it all on all sorts of devices. iPhone 6S, which is the 3VO NAND power rail becomes short. So let's see where that is on the iPhone 8 Plus. So this is kind of the diagnostician thinking, and I would kind of think about all of this stuff before saying, let's change Tristar. Because remember, we don't have any mechanism for Tristar failure right now. This could still be Tristar. Maybe Tristar is short to ground. But battery doesn't go to Tristar. Main doesn't go to Tristar. So that doesn't really fit our story very well. All right, so let's take a look back here at the NAND area and see what do we have for NAND power. And this is PP0V9 NAND, and this here is PP3V0 NAND. So 3V0 NAND is a really common failure point in other devices. So let's check to see whether or not we happen to have a short to ground on NAND cap over there. Let's give it a shot. So let's see. Flip this sucker over and let's try one of these guys here on the end. All right, so if I do a red probe on ground, and let's kind of dig here. Let's just scrape off this layer. All right, so we can get a measurement. All right, one side is 0, and the other side is 0. Hello. That is a short. There is a short circuit on PP3V0 NAND. So now, you know, what tool or how did we know to look there? I've never seen this board before. I've never worked on this board. It's just by applying your diagnostician experience, and that is your best tool along with visual exam. And these, you know, kind of please bro tools have their use probably, but nothing beats just your own experience. Okay, so now what do? We know from the other devices that when we do have a 3VO NAND short, it's usually just a single bad cap, and it's by the end, it's by NAND, and it's usually on the end. So let's see what our candidates are, and let's see if we can clear this short. All right, so we have a bunch of little caps that are along this edge, and our experience tells us that little caps don't fail compared to big caps. Big caps fail like a light bulb that drops on the ground. Little caps are tough. If you drop a string of Christmas tree lights, so if you have a strand of Christmas tree lights and you drop it on the ground, all those light bulbs are going to work. But if you have a single large light bulb, like a floodlight, and you drop that on the ground, then even though the glass doesn't shatter, that light bulb is probably not going to work. And that's the way I think about these caps. The big caps, just a drop or a bend kind of bothers them, and the little ones don't really care. All right, so that gives us a couple of candidates. We've got one over here, and then we have number 2, 3, and 4. 4 sort of big caps that are on this this spot. So I have absolutely no idea. Maybe one of you guys have seen this problem before, I don't know. But we are going to, let's look at them and say, do we see any kind of visual damage? They're all covered with the silicone, so no. We could say, well, let's try to figure out which one it is by checking for heat or something like that. First stream Lewis put me on, sticker view stream. Right, so let's just say, since there's only a couple of these, let's just pick one randomly. So I'm gonna pick one, the one that I already uncovered. I'll pick that one, and if it's not him, then I'm gonna go for the one that's also sort of on the edge. Because it seems to be these guys that are on the edge of the board. That's the common fault as we compare to other devices. It's these big caps that are on the very, very edge of the board. So let's go ahead and see if we can clear this short. All right. Let's knock this off. All right, so when we have one that seems like, when they're damaged, they easily just pop right off. So when they're not damaged, they're stuck on there like normal. All right, so we're committed to getting rid of that one as it is. But it's unlikely to be him just because of how he's not popping off easily. So probably not him. Either that, or it's just that this tool is quite blunt. I put this blade in this morning, and it was in my blade graveyard earlier today. So not the best. Come on. Well, this is quite difficult to employ the Jessa method. There we go. All right, now he's out of there. So unlikely to be him because he was difficult to remove. The ones that are actually the wire cause of a short, they are damaged, so they are pretty easy to just pop off. So probably not that guy. Let's see. All right, so not him. All right, let's look back and see where else should we try. So we can try his neighbor or the one on the other end. I'm going to go with the one on the other end and then come back to his neighbor. So let's try the other end. So let's go over here and let's see. Almost worth it to go get a new one of these. It's just really blunt. I don't think I can use that blade. Let's see. Do I have a better blade in my blade graveyard? That is really not a better one. Gee, I'd sure hate to have to take this off with any method other than the flick it off method. That would suck. He's also doesn't seem to be popping off easy. Come on, mofo. There he goes. All right, now let's see. Alrighty. I'm a bit late to the stream. Could you put the iPhone 6, which you changed the Tristar, on the tester and see what it says? We did that at the last one, and it said that Tristar is fine. So initially it said Tristar fail, change Tristar, and it says Tristar pass. So we did that at in the last stream. All right, so let's. Hey, it was that dude. So ground, and now we've got 0.440. So we have cleared a short. Maybe that's the only thing wrong. Who knows? Let's find out. Let's see what happens now. All right. Go back to the drone place. All right. Let's see. Follow you from Naples. Numbers 1. All right. Let's see. It has been fun. I've been answering the phone again this week. Man, this phone rang every 3 or 4 minutes for a couple of hours. Not today, but yesterday. Which, speaking of, reminds me that I still have to write all of the estimates. Having a team of moms where nobody wants to work in the summer totally sucks. totally sucks. I mean, I was just on vacation, but everybody is either on vacation or just getting back from vacation. Somebody else is going on vacation. Why can't all the water damage data recovery jobs happen, in February? February in Rochester is a great time to sit in here and try to make phones work again, but our weather is so god-awful all winter long. It is freezing cold, snowy. It's just terrible that when it finally, we get a few like golden weeks of summer and nobody wants to do anything other than just lay outside and stare at the sun. All right. Okay, so we're gonna see what happens here. You can tell whenever it's after midnight, I can't connect connectors like at all. All right, so we still have some inappropriate current draw, although we put out a fairly big problem. So let's see what happens. All right, so now we can see that we have a fairly normal current consumption and not that big spike up to 2. And it looks like a boot loop. Alrighty. Boot loop. Alright, so now we're back to kind of what the guy said this was to begin with. And our next step would be, since we've found a problem and we have solved it, that then we would need to update. And that is not something that I am going to try on stream, because we learned earlier today that having to download software updates is incompatible with live streaming here in the land of shitty $300 internet. So let's see what happens just for fun with charging. Can charge. And it's consuming a low charging current, but it also probably has a pretty dead battery if it was boot looping, so that may still be normal. That's a little bit hard to tell. Oh, yep, there it goes. So it just popped up to a normal, a little higher than normal 2 amp charging current. So this one, having a 3VO NAND short is the same thing as unplugging a hard drive from the wall, right? So if you just suddenly take that NAND power voltage and drop it into ground, you've unplugged the NAND. If the NAND was busy writing, then that can get corrupted, and so we can try to restore. Now that we've solved NAND power problem, we've got NAND power back, then we may be able to actually restore. So I think that the point here is that for Tristar Tester on this one, Tristar Tester said Tristar's fine, and Use Your Brain also said Tristar's probably fine. So at least we agree, and it looks like this was not a Tristar fault, that this was a 3V0 NAND short circuit that we found. This guy can't tell us what the problem is. All he can tell us is that he doesn't think it's Tristar. So on our own, we had to use our brain to find out, okay, if it's not Tristar, then what is it? And then just to recap, we had this phone from earlier today that Tristar Tester said Tristar was good, but it was boot looping and it could not pass update. We changed Tristar anyway because Use Your Brain said, hey, it's an undamaged iPhone 6. It's got to be Tristar because we don't have a mechanism for any other kind of a failure. And result is, after we changed Tristar, it did update, it did pass an update, and we're recovering 100 gigs of pictures from that right now. And then we are back to our first phone. This is the one that Tristar Tester said Tristar was bad. It was also boot looping. We changed Tristar, and this is the one that we all thought, well, it'll come right back, but it did not. So this phone is still not able to pass an update, and it will fail update with error 4013, which is a NAND-related error in the iPhone 6. So, and just to be clear, it's not a NAND-related error in the iPhone 7. So you've got to kind of keep in mind that every device is different. So somebody asked, hey, why don't we stick the Tristar Tester back on this? So it used to fail. We changed Tristar, and let's see whether or not it can pass now. Yeah, connect device, device connected. All right, test. All right, so it's doing the dock test. Also, we tried the Tristar Tester dock OK on a dock that Christy said was missing some ground pads, but it came up okay. I do not know if you have changed U2. Stop saying U2. Don't ever call Tristar U2. It's Tristar and Hydra. So now it says pass. So this used to say failed, now it says pass, but it doesn't matter because maybe this one had a Tristar fault. We still don't know, but it didn't pass update. Maybe Tristar was fine all along, so there's no way to tell. Holy cow, phone repair looks an order of magnitude harder than laptops. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. iPhones are cats. They're finicky. They're prissy. They have a lot of software problems and chip stuff that you just kind of have to work. And MacBooks or laptops are like dogs. They're wide. They're forgiving. Bona doesn't like people calling Tristar U2. That's right. Okay, so we've got this thing under its own steam. Is going to be boot looping. So I'm going to go ahead and see, can this thing pass a restore since we put out the fire of having that 3VO NAND short. And I'm going to do that offline because we can't stream and download at the same time. So that's it for this one. I think that we're going to start seeing those 3VO NAND shorts as a signature problem in the 8 Plus, just like every other device.